Finger Lakes area, and these beautiful cars just add to the beauty around here. Eventful race yesterday, one that a lot of people learned, I think, an awful lot about. And again, this is early days for this remarkable car and this remarkable program, but we saw some great drives as well.
You know, and as you pointed out yesterday, so many talented young drivers in this series, and nobody wants to mess with Johan. That's a very, very fast gentleman. Bottom line is, you're right. The series was conceived in March. The cars were built, loaded in transporters, and basically sent to the very first race and directly here. So they've had very little testing time, but all the drivers have done a great job with feedback. Of course, Eric Cohen is the development driver, test driver for Saleen in these cars. He's done a great job of bringing these things into the fold. But I would take Friday's temperatures over today, Greg.
Yeah, a little brisker today, isn't
Just
it?
a bit,
for sure.
yes.
Yeah, so
messing with my dew with the wind.
I'll tell you what, though, that does, there's a plus to that. Cars tend to like the cooler temperature in general.
It's true.
So we'll see how that works out in terms of performance. And you take a look at how things unfolded yesterday. Eric Powell, we talked about the great opportunity he's been given here. And he did a great job, didn't he?
He did. And, you know, it was funny. So many talented kids led the thing, and then their cars kind of let them down electronically right near the end, and just sort of plunked through the field. And Eric, who had done a great job of recovering from the start and coming back through the field, I got to talk to him afterwards, and he was just delighted.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, I've called Eric in racing for a long time. It's always been in the smaller touring car stuff, and you can just see the skill set. And I've said more often than not, boy, if he ever gets an opportunity in something, he's going to open some eyes up. I think he may have done that yesterday.
Well, you know, interesting enough, these are 2,200-pound cars, 450 horsepower, called Saleen S1s. They're essentially identical to what, other than the luxury appointments, to what the S1 street car from Saleen will be. $100,000 supercar, if you will. I know you're not allowed to use that term in a car that inexpensive, but that level of performance is pretty amazing. And to you and I, 100,000, well, that's a supercar.
That's a supercar, yeah, no question about that. And, you know, Powell got that overall win, but the guy who finished second, winning the Young Guns class, number 12, Austin Riley, incredible story there.
You wouldn't believe that. And to talk to him, you'd never know he has autism. His judgment, his speed, he wins up in Canada. But this was a big horsepower step up for a number of these drivers, guys, like you said, that you've been calling for a long time. But it was kind of a classic tortoise and a hare thing yesterday. You know, the rabbits took off, and 3 or 4 of them stayed back, just a few seconds back, and I don't know, really waited appropriately for their game to come to them.
Yes, they did.
So it worked out. Those are the colors that, on the 19 car. That's the number and the colors that Steve and I won the championship back in '87 together with. And so, but this car's having trouble getting past turn 1 on the very first lap. So. Yeah,
there was a couple of little get-together moments down in turn 1. But I'll tell you, Cameron Lawrence, the driver of that car, is a wickedly quick talent. He'll start on the outside of the front row. Brandon Davis, who led a lot of the race yesterday in the number 14, the beautiful blue machine, has pole. Paul Terry in the number 4 was very quick. He had a problem in the early going. And number 18, Carter Fartuk. But a guy to keep an eye on here, I think, might be the guy who starts in the 10th spot, the number 6. That car right there, the Gulf Color machine of Johann Schwartz. And
not a low talent guy.
Yeah, no, he's been on fire this weekend in the touring car division. And unfortunately, it looks like Bryce Miller may have ducked into the pit lane. He was really fast yesterday.
He was.
Yeah,
he
and
was
set
quick.
fast lap of the race.
Yep.
But ended up having a couple of little problems and ended up finishing 4th. And he was involved in one of those little touches right at the start that set him back a little bit, but into the pit lane early. This might be something just left over from that contact yesterday.
I liked how you called it just a little get-together. Yeah, there was some tire smoke and banging and rubbing.
A little bit.
And they got a little worse at turn 1. They'll do 2 pace laps for this grid. And, Johann's one I'd keep my eye on. He may be at the back right now, but he won't stay there.
Right. Well, and he won a race earlier this morning, so he's got some track time some of these other guys don't. Knows the conditions out there.
Yep. So. I have to tell you, I really have enjoyed getting to know these drivers. Well, you can see the fire in their eyes. There's a lot of talent out there.
Yeah.
And they know. They know this is an opportunity. Now, this race, this series will go on to Road America and then wrap up in Vegas. And they're going to get better every time, and we're going to see the field continue to double every time.
Oh, absolutely. And had a look there, the number 9 of Martina Kwan. Here's Bryce now heading back out on track. Martina, second in the pro category, third overall yesterday.
Yep.
And we talked about it. You know, she realized I don't really, have the pace of a couple of those guys up front. She drove a beautifully judged race to make sure she finished.
Well put. Yep. Very smart, and she was tickled. And she does not have a lot of driving background. She's mostly Porsches, and
not racing necessarily.
Right, exactly. A lot of track days.
Stuff and the like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a look at that starting grid that we've been chatting a bit about. There's Johan.
Yep.
As he's getting ready to go. But the front row, Brandon Davis in the 14, Cameron Lawrence in the 19, row 2, Paul Terry in the number 4, Carter Farton. And Hannah Zellers, who she was in the touring car race earlier today as well and had a stellar drive going and worked her way up from the back of the field, knocking on the door of a top 5, and then learned a lesson about touring car racing. She got sold a little bit of a dummy going into the inner loop. She bit on it, turned in a little early, and skated through there. Ended up dropping back to 10th, dropped the hammer, and came back up to the field again. So,
did she really?
Yeah, really, really nice drive. So
we know she's got the talent.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. The safety vehicle is going to make its escape down into pit lane, and the field will be led up to the green for the second race of this weekend in the Saleen Cup. Once again, Brandon Davis in that beautiful blue machine with the yellow highlights on the pole as the field heads onto the front straight. Again, the clock has started, but the official green flag will be dropped in just a minute here. See how everybody does with this start. Brandon, wow, what a jump he got. Cameron, again, wasn't quite ready to go. And I think we're going to see Paul Terry. Yeah, he was able to get through on Cameron. And very close. That was Hannah Zellers trying to make a move as well. She's really been aggressive this week, and I like that.
Yeah, you can see the fire in her eyes.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I kind of thought Johan would be right in the mix of this right now, so I don't know if electronically his car has it all together. Boy, they're good, clean.
Yes,
better than yesterday by a whole bunch. And I'm sure Mr. Saleen is happy to see that these cars stayed off of each other. Yep, Hannah is. Yep, she's after it. And,
she's doing a nice job.
Yep.
And talking to Johan a little bit, he said he has one goal today, and he said that's to make the Saleen look as good as we know it is. And he said he's been really focusing on the touring car because he's in the points championship battle there.
Right.
And he said, early on, he said, I just want to stay clean, just continue to learn the car. And he goes, a little bit later in the race, he said, I hope to show what the car's capable of.
Well,
that's a savvy approach. Yeah,
he's the right guy.
Yeah.
It was funny as they were looking at the gray skies. These cars have 450 horsepower, and there was a lot of drivers that are new to racing in the rain, and we're looking up hoping it didn't start to sprinkle.
Exactly.
It's a lot of horsepower to tame when you're brand new to it. See, Carter's getting into it with Johan a little bit. Let's see how that's going to work out.
I think Carter might have a little bit of an issue
got
here.
A problem.
Because he had started in the 4th spot.
Right.
And a couple of times he's moved over, and then it's like he's found the pace again. And then he's moved over, so he may have a little bit of an issue. Remember, he had that rear deck issue
yesterday. Yep.
In the race yesterday.
What a shame, because he's been so patient, and he just seems to be plagued with electronic problems. Again, they'll get this stuff worked out. Boy, nice job up front. Glad to see the 19 cars made it more than one lap or two.
Boy, and that's Hannah Zellers, and she ran.
Yeah, she used all the pavement.
Real wide there through turn number 10. Came back on, and Eric Powell giving her a fair amount of room. As well at that stage, he recognized that she's coming back on, and he said don't want to get in her way at that point. And ooh, boy, she is taking it deep into the braking zone.
That was right on the wiggle line.
It was.
She.
And there's Carter. Problem.
This is a spec series. You can actually rent into this, and the two champions, both the Young Guns and the Pro-Ams, will both have factory rides in GT4 next year, which these cars will convert to. So.
That's really exciting to hear that, because they are they are gorgeous cars, but also we know the performance. We've already seen them this weekend within a couple of seconds of the GT4 pole time, so they're going to fit in very nicely. And we know they aren't fully sorted yet.
Right.
So the potential here is exceptional.
For those of you who can see the left side of course, the Lawrence car, the yellow car, number 19, you can see the battle scars of yesterday's little battle going into turn 1 that he did not win, unfortunately. But looks like today he's got it under control and is chasing, as you had predicted yesterday, to be a leader.
Absolutely. I mean, he is he's a real talent. There's no question. And just keeping it clean here, and he's going to get into this pretty good little battle. It's good to see that Carter has made it down to the pit lane.
Yeah.
And again, you know, we keep talking about this. This program is in its infancy, and a lot of the testing being done very publicly here at racetracks, in race trim and in race form, as opposed to just quietly. Certainly Eric Kern does a lot of R&D work, but there's nothing that can simulate the loads that are placed on a car in race conditions, and to be willing to come out and do this development publicly, but do it in race trim, I think it accelerates that learning curve substantially.
Well, you had said that in the boot to me yesterday, and then I saw Eric later, and he goes, you know, and he just echoed it. He goes, Rick, I just want you to understand, you know, we can test all day, but until you come here and that thing goes green, you really don't see the loads and the temperatures and the kind of effort the car's forced to make. And that will point out what needs to be adjusted.
You know, and a lot of time when you're doing testing, you're out there, you're just running very consistent laps so you can get a read on this component or that component. You're not curb hopping, you're not getting forced off line by somebody.
Boy, not the
and
truth.
All those extra stresses and loads that could put on a car. So nice job there. There's Johan as he works his way up now. He is knocking on the door here of it's the top 5 he's closing in on here. Yeah, he's actually just got by Zellers. That puts him into the 5th spot with Riley right in front of him.
Yeah,
Austin Riley.
Austin Riley just in front of him. And Austin's a smart kid. And he will play hardball. He's kind of a quiet guy when you see him walking around and so young. But look at him. He knows.
Yeah.
He's not going to make it easy. And he knows who Johan is, too. So God love him. He's got a lot of gumption, this kid.
Yep. Well, Johan showed the nose there, and he just kind of eased over and said, "Dad, nope, not right now."
Yeah, okay, but Johan will put up for this for a lap or two, and then Johan will come out. Mr. Denmark will get all serious about it.
Exactly.
Let me assure you. So,
you know, for all of Johan's achievements, one of the most remarkable is he has the all-time record. It's in the Guinness books for the longest consecutive drift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's hours and hours long, and they literally had to refuel the car while he was drifting, which means another car had to come up, drift up, get into a drift next to him, and then yeah, it was just remarkable watching the video of it. But I have to admit, I don't remember the exact number, but it's something on the order of like 10 hours straight of drifting. It was incredible what he did.
Well, you just saw Johan make an outside pass. That takes driver confidence in that corner.
Bet. Yeah, that was a pretty move.
I knew he'd be good to go once he got sure it was under him.
Well, and you know, that was a learning moment for young Mr. Austin Riley, because Johan showed the nose inside, so Austin kept protecting that inside, and then a savvy driver like Johan gets you into that mode enough, and then he just pops to the outside and goes, and Carter will go.
Shows you one of those bag of trick stunts that
exactly,
he's got. Good news is for Austin Riley, he is in fact leading the young guns, so he'll do just fine. I see Carter's going to come back out.
That's good news.
Good kid. I really like to see that car run for him, because I know he's a player at the front.
He's got a lot of experience driving a lot of different things, doesn't he? Yeah.
You know, it's funny. You look at the resumes of these kids, and nearly every one of them came from go-karts, which obviously, which, by the way, is nowhere near as inexpensive as I remember karting being. And these kids have driven such a variety of equipment, because a lot of them are driving coaches. And so they get to drive a lot of different stuff, race a lot of different stuff. It's still great to see the Al Hobart colors out front. I got to give Steve Saleen credit for going with these graphics and not overdoing the cars and making them recognizable for those of us who've been around a long time. Well, there's all the pavement being put to good use.
Certainly is. It's Paul Terry, who's also in an absolutely great touring car battle here earlier today.
He's renowned for being a pretty aggressive guy, too.
He is.
He's got a bit of a rep.
He goes after it. Some of that was fueled by some ABS issues that the Nissans in the touring car class were dealing with. Once they got that, they were allowed to, because even touring car now is homologated somewhat.
Is it really?
And so that when they got the approval to put a different braking system on the car, and it resolved a lot of those issues. And now he's aggressive, and he will go in deep and the like. But what was happening was the ABS was shut down, and you get a numb pedal, and that you can't control it. And now that he's got that dealt with, he's just, that speed is really showing for him now, and we're seeing it here in the Saleen Cup.
We knew he had the talent. Yesterday, unfortunately, we were able to test the safety of these cars. Mark Trombo got in this situation. These are aluminum tub carbon fiber bodies with full mild steel roll cages in them. He put it in the fence pretty darn hard, and I got to tell you, the cage didn't move. Of course, it tore up the left front suspension real good. But overall, we kind of got an insider's look at how much of a shot these cars will take and still protect the drivers.
Well, and you know, that's, to go fast in a race car, the #1 component that a driver needs is confidence.
Yep.
And, you know, if you firmly believe, look at this, nice run here.
Mr. Riley fighting back here.
Yeah. And that's no mean feat. He just went around on Cameron Lawrence.
Cameron Lawrence, of all people.
Two-time Trans Am champion, a Rolex 24 winner.
Yep.
That was a nice move by Austin.
I got to give him credit.
Yeah.
Again, folks, if you ever want to consider coming into this series, perhaps for next year, or maybe this year, if you want to try it the last couple of races, come on down to the Saleen compound. They've got the cars on display. There are people there to talk to you about what it takes to get involved with the series. And again, you win the championship in either division, you're going to be a factory driver in GT4 for Saleen next year. Met a young lady yesterday, came up, she goes, I'm going to win Young Guns next year. I'm only 16, but my dad's already got me racing a BMW, and I won in this series. At 16 years old, she walked right up to Steve Sleeve, goes, I'm going to win it next year.
Nice.
Steve goes, love to have you.
Gotta love that confidence. That's what you want.
And that drive, you know,
yeah, exactly.
Somebody so young.
Looks like Cameron ducking into the pits, so he may have a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, we knew if Austin could drive around that easily, it was going to be Cameron's motor was laying down. Again, these electronics, they're great when they're right, but boy, they're a nightmare till you get them there.
And that's the thing is, you know, all the myriad sensors that are on cars now.
Unbelievable.
And you get one that glitches and it can just disrupt the whole system. And
again, the battle scars being pretty obvious here from yesterday. He was not a happy camper afterwards.
Yes.
He did not appreciate the assist. I know you call it a coming together, but
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little get together.
And I see Bryce Miller, whatever that problem is, they hopefully have it resolved. He was really fast yesterday.
But you and I saw the back window blow out of that car yesterday, and I wanted to tell you, it landed on the track, not one scratch on it.
Is that right?
And it got reinstalled.
Well, that's impressive. That's impressive. So as we continue to watch, Brandon Davis leading up front. Let's get down and meet the third member of our team, Ryan Marine. What's happening in pit lane?
Well, there's been a lot of action down here. As a matter of fact, we just saw Cameron Lawrence bring the number 19 in, and as he did so, the splitter was dragging on the ground. Perhaps there was some contact there that led to some damage, so it might be something beyond the electrical gremlins, which we've seen previously. An update on the other two cars that have been in pit lane. It's been a throttle body issue for Bryce Miller, and then we have Carter Fartuk in, and they're dealing with something electronic that has to do with getting the power down, so probably drive-by-wire or something along those lines. So that's where we stand. I see Cameron Lawrence has climbed out of the car. We'll try and grab a word with him here in a few moments, too.
All right, thanks very much, Ryan. And Austin Riley, who really had been putting on a stout run here, finds himself in some sort of
a fix.
Yes, exactly.
And he won yesterday, so this has got to be hard for him to take. I would warn our guy in the pit that Cameron will not be in the best mood.
Yes.
Cameron likes winning.
yeah, it's his thing. Oh, look at this here.
This is getting interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's Davis now.
Oh, and that's Martina.
Marking up.
It was second in Pro-Am yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So right now Brandon is just
he's
got
great.
a 54.4 for a fast lap right now, so he is really flowing some beautiful speed.
I say he has come to terms with this car.
Yeah, I think he likes it.
Yep. God, he looks good. He's just so smooth.
Former World Challenge GT champion.
Son of a gun.
So he certainly has some pretty stout credentials.
Yep. They've got the seat time.
Here, let me throw a little number at you here.
Yep.
Pole time for this afternoon's GT4 race, a 54.3.
And again,
fast lap for Davis, a 54.4.
Right there.
So, bingo. Yep.
Right there. Pretty good for a car that's only 2 races old.
I would say. Yeah, very nice job.
Well, credit to Austin. He's still trying to make it back to the pits. There goes Martina by, I believe.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, if you get back to the pits, whatever the problem is, if they can assess it, you get back out and you can salvage some points. And, of course, it's important. The other part of the program is every one of these drivers, yes, they are out there going for their potential championship, their potential future with a factory ride, et cetera. But they're also, each one of them is a test and development driver. So if he can get back to the pits, they can plug that car in and start to learn a few things. Let's quickly get down to the pits and Ryan Marine.
I'm joined by obviously disappointed Cameron Lawrence. Second time in as many days we've been having a conversation a little bit too early. We noticed the splitter was dragging coming in. What took place?
Yeah, it might be some residual damage from the contact yesterday. You know, again, unfortunate to have that happen yesterday, and it seems like the gremlins from that kind of led into today. So the guys did a great job, all the Saleen guys and R3 Motorsports, to fix all the cars and get them all going mechanically, but it's just something underlying, could have been cracked or broken or just, you know, hanging on by a thread that showed itself today, unfortunately. So the car was hooked up. We were looking to get forward, you know, move forward, get past Paul and hang on to Brandon, but, you know, is what it is.
Already looking forward to Road America, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, the cars are super exciting, fun to drive, and tracks like Watkins Glen and Road America definitely on the top of the list in North America. So we're unfortunately already looking forward to that, but looking to have a good time.
Sorry to see you out so soon. Thanks for the time.
Yep, thank you.
He brings up a good he brings up a good point. You know, this is a great track. Road America, 4 miles long through the Kettle Moraine Forest. As they like to say, America's National Park of Speed. I mean, you just go from strength to strength on these venues, and each one of them presents the unique challenges that this program wants to be able to learn as fast as possible to develop these cars.
Well, poor Austin Riley. It appears he could no longer get all the way back to the pits. All of these kids have been great about the fact that they know they're contributing to the R&D of these vehicles. They've all been working very closely with Eric Curran, and very sorry for Austin. He emotionally gets very involved, so he'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, that's a shame. Safety car has come out as a result.
Oh, has it really? Oh,
yeah. He's parked, I think, on the hot track.
Yep.
In that little run between 9 and 10, and so you really have to have a safety car in that scenario. Anytime there's a car parked on the hot track, and what's interesting here is obviously Mr. Davis had opened up a sizable little margin back to Paul Terry and Johann Schwartz, who's worked his way to third.
Oh my gosh, Johann's third.
He is on the move.
Like you said, he was going to wait, make sure he was on top of it, and then go. Apparently he's going. I got to give Austin these cars.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a routine to start these cars, and very involved steering wheels, a la Formula One style. And to his credit, he got it relit, and he's on his way to the pits. So that'll be helpful.
See, that might be a problem for me having one of these cars.
Yeah.
Because if it's all that technical on the steering wheel.
It is.
Because every time I would shut the car off to start it, I'd have to get out and go find a 10-year-old.
Thank you. Exactly. And they're hard to come by.
Because they'll fire that right up, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. I come from the same old school you do, buddy. And I looked at that steering and went, you got to be kidding. Boy, you give Johann a chance to be to the trunk of these cars. This could get interesting.
Well, it's going to be fun, too, because, I mean, Johann and Terry, they were racing each other pretty furiously earlier this morning, too.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So there's Quan, who's down a lap at this stage. And so she'll be between Terry and Schwartz.
Yeah, and she'll use it as a learning opportunity, trust me.
You bet.
She'll watch the good shoes go for it. Again, this is a rent-a-ride situation. You show up, and you're treated like a king and queen.
The hospitality here.
The hospitality is amazing.
As well as the display is really something.
And, of course, plenty of treats, plenty of food, and the opportunity to commingle with some pretty talented drivers if you want to continue to grow your career. But based on just what you've been saying, kids with a lot of background and a lot of success want in this series because they know the visibility of it. But yeah, Watkins Glen's considered a very fast track. Road America is considered a very, very, very fast track.
Absolutely. It's going to be something for these cars to. That's one where they're going to be able to stretch their legs big time.
Yep.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch. And I was looking at this here because as the field's starting to compress, yes, Martinez between Paul Terry and Johann Schwartz, but Hannah Zellers as right with Schwartz and Powell should be right up behind as well. So and we know what kind of pace
we know
he
Mr.
showed
Powell
yesterday.
can go. Yeah. So again, come on down to the compound in the pit area if you're wandering around. Find out what it would take to get involved with this series, particularly for next year. But we still got seats for next year, for this year, if you want to get your feet wet in it. And boy, to win a factory ride, not a bad thing. A full paid bill for next year.
Well, that's one of the things, as I understand it, you also have a very rabid interest by a number of people in China for these cars. So as the builds are being done, some of them are being shipped right off to China. So at each venue here in the U.S., as the season progresses, more and more cars are going to be able to be available.
You know, I'm shocked at the inside information you have. You're good.
Oh, thank you.
You are the I Spy of this stuff. But yes, he's absolutely right, and there's going to be a series like this in China as well. So
exciting that is.
And you probably already knew that, but I thought I'd share that with you. So.
Well, no, it's good to get it out there for everybody.
You're right.
And once again, as there is a mandatory pit stop and a window for that pit stop to be made, and this yellow caution has unfolded right in that mandatory pit stop window, everybody is just coming in, following the pace car in. I think this is a good call because it sort of neutralizes everything. Everybody can get that mandatory stop done and then get back out and onto the track, and nobody could be caught out by any kind of a safety car versus a pit stop sequence. So good plan here.
It is, but it shows how old school you and I are. You and I would be very reluctant to take a good hot race car and bring it in and let it idle or shut off like this. But these kids today, it doesn't bother them. You and I would know you could boil the carburetor and you have vapor lock, and just some of the ills of past. Now I hope these electronics don't mind being relit and heat soaked like this.
Well, that's part of the learning process, isn't it? So
right.
that's what this is all about, is speeding up the development of the what certainly is a car with huge potential here. So you take a look at the current run order at this stage. And if it's a white number with a black background, that's a Pro-Am car. If it is a white number with a red background, that's a Young Gun car. And looking there at Hannah Zellers, who showed Young Gun potential for sure in that touring car race today.
Good graphics on this car.
Yeah, it's sharp.
So pretty. Look forward to the production cars. They're probably a year out, but I look forward to the street cars as well because I've seen the interiors and they're stunning. Steve Saleen does not know how to do an ugly car. I don't know how he learned that, but and his trucks are selling well. If you go to Corona and go on the tour, you'll see he's building lots of F-150s as well as Mustangs and of course these cars.
Look there at Eric Powell, who had that fabulous run yesterday.
Yes, he did.
And
this gentleman we know we can count on for a good run.
You bet. I looked at one of my stats graphics for him that I didn't have handy when I started talking about it. It was 8 hours was that drift.
8? Oh my word! How do you get tires to go that long?
That's it. Yeah, you can't keep drift. You can drift and refuel. I don't know how you drift and change tires.
Yeah, that's ugly.
It must have had some real bricks on that car to make it last for a while. But all right, looks like cars are starting to queue up.
So like you said, 2 minutes, right?
Yep.
Was the stop time, I believe.
I believe it's 2 minutes plus the transit time down pit lane, which is 30 seconds here.
Okay, so here they come.
So we should be getting ready to head back out.
And again, you have another stat available to you of 30 seconds. I would have never known what that was going to be. So again, it's fun to work next to a pro. I appreciate the privilege of coming in here and talking with you.
We're glad to have you here, and I got to confess that one. I pilfered right off of Calvin Fish's notepad.
Well, he's a mutual buddy. He'll be okay with it. Did you get to keep that quarter from yesterday when all the nice things we said?
No.
Me either. And he told me he would have followed me back to the paddock had I taken it. So, God love him. Talented guy.
All right. Yep, cars are back out here, still under safety car conditions, and getting ready to hopefully there we go. We got Austin into the pits, so that was the reason for the caution. And hopefully they were able to resolve whatever that issue is.
Yeah, that looks like he might be coming back out,
That's
which would be
great to see.
Yep, we'll see who he can catch.
That's the thing with those electronics. It's like the old joke about the engineer that car just stops on the road and there's a mechanical engineer and an electrical engineer and a computer software engineer in it, and they're all trying to figure out what to do. And the mechanical engineer says, "Well, clearly it's something in the driving line. We got take it apart, pull it apart, find out what the issue is." The electronic guy said, "No." He said, "It's an electronics thing." He said, "We just need to swap out the component."
Exactly. Yeah.
And the computer software engineer said, "No. They said, well, what would you do? And he said, well, just turn it off, get out, walk around, and get back in again.
Yeah. You know what's scary? That's pretty accurate.
I know.
It's pretty darn accurate. I tell you what, I pity the fool. When these cars get sorted, these things are going to be, it's going to be an amazing fight with all these
really
cars.
Is. It's going to be a lot of fun.
These are electronically boosted steering systems, also still hydraulic, sequential 6-speed paddle shift transmissions, and it looks like they did not get all the buttons.
Oh, what a shame.
On poor Austin Riley, who again was yesterday's winner. I sure love seeing the Al Hobart and Bob Hobart colors out there for the old Sunoco colors.
Yep.
I hope they're looking down.
Absolutely, and I mean, just so you know, there's some great homage here to a lot of legendary race cars.
You're right.
That are being done here, and that's absolutely fantastic to have that happen here. It looks like we may have one more lap of caution. Lights still on the safety car. So,
yep.
So let's while we're under caution here. Let's talk a little bit. You talked about the horsepower of these cars, but I mean the components for these cars. I mean, this is all very serious stuff.
Oh, these cars, if you come in, these are purebred GT cars. The interior is not luxurious. It's filled with information and components that contribute. Of course, they're fuel celled, and they are full roll cage system in the cars. Driver's seats, steering wheels that look like they're right out of an F1 car. And that's your instrumentation anymore. You and I would not look up and find anything of use. It's all you scroll through what you want information-wise off the center of the steering wheel on its screen.
And I mean, full on. I mean, in taking a little tour of these cars, I mean, the brake systems on these cars are just phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many speeds for the?
It's a 6-speed sequential.
Full 6 sequential.
Yeah.
So.
That will not be the gearbox in a street car because that would be short-lived. But in this application, it made sense for the race cars to go this way. There's Mr. Powell at the back there. That's not a position that will be maintained long.
I would think not.
Eric, poor Carter. We love this kid. Again, he's engaged to be married to a really charming school teacher. And they're getting married at Disney World, which they said has just been the most accommodating thing.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Yeah, and making life a lot easier. Because I always figure there's two things that will test a marriage. A, planning the wedding, and 2 hours in traffic in L.A. If you can survive 2 hours in traffic with somebody, that marriage is going to make it.
That's probably pretty good, yeah.
And
I'll tell you what, if he's marrying a school teacher and what he's been going through this weekend, he's learning a lot of lessons.
Yeah, good point. She's good for him.
Yeah.
Good couple. Really good couple.
It should be fun here. So hopefully we'll be able to get back to green flag. Once again, it's two Pro-Ams leading this thing. Brandon Davis in the number 14 and Paul Terry in the number 4. Then Hannah Zellers, one of the young guns, sits third in the 71, that white car with the yellow stripes on the hood line. And then you've got the Gulf livery here of the number 6 of Johann Schwartz, Pro-Am car, the green and blue right there. Yesterday's winner, Eric Powell, in the number 7.
Yep.
And then Michelle Kwan next in the queue, who won the was second in the Pro-Am category yesterday in the number 9.
It's funny, you look at Zellers and you know what her intentions are. She has every intention of trying to stay with these boys and get by them. And of course, you and I are both looking very closely at Johann because we know now that he's this close to the front, he's going to go.
Well, and this might extend this caution by another lap, obviously, as
yeah, they got to get these. But these guys are good. Well, I got to say, these guys here at the Glen are really good.
Yes.
They get them, and they get them off of here.
Yeah.
Those of us who know Carter, who's such a nice young man, again, with an extraordinary background, and again, a driving coach, like most of these kids at the front. Good stuff.
That's one of the nice things that, you talked about the open seats that are available, along with the exposure, along with the ability to enjoy being able to drive one of these S1s, et cetera. If you get aligned with this championship, you've got a huge number of resources because, as you said, so many of the drivers in it already are coaches.
They are.
So you can just grab one and say, look, can you give me a little help here? And you've got your choice of them in this series. It's
you
nice.
do, and I was watching them yesterday because they have data acquisition. They can see everything they're doing in the car. So I was watching several of the guys working with other drivers, watching on the computer, okay, here's what you did, let me help you here, here's what you need to do. I mean, you can't buy that kind of experience. It's seat time. And we all know the thing you're doing in these cars is educating your fanny, because that's how you learn to go quick and gain the confidence to go quickly.
And you know, overarching the whole thing, you got Eric Kern as a reference to be able to go to.
Not a bad deal, huh?
Yeah, no.
One of the drivers yesterday, one of the younger drivers said to me, so whenever he goes out, they put a different chip in his car, right? I said, no, sorry, pal. He's just that stinking fast. No, Eric doesn't need a special chip.
He's pre-wired with it.
Yeah, he's a very, very good driver.
Yeah, and truly just a nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
He made the comment in that interview yesterday, which I think it really is in its own right a pretty solid statement about the potential of these S1s, is that his West Coast exotic cars, they're going to be a Saleen dealer. If he thinks with that program, which deals in absolute high-end, wonderful supercars, if he thinks that this car has a niche in that space, that says a lot.
The other thing I like about Eric is if he's kind of an exotic car bounty hunter. If you've got a car you really want and he doesn't have it, he's the man that will go find it and get it for you. So you can imagine the tenacity he has as a driver. He has as a businessman as well.
All right, lights out on the safety vehicle, so that's the sign we've been looking for.
And I'll tell you, a lot of people have gotten input from Steve Saleen, who's also a very good race driver, and he's helped these kids a lot. Because for a lot of these young drivers, this is the most power to weight ratio they've ever had. So at 2,200 pounds, carbon fiber body, aluminum tub car, on slicks, though they had rain tires standing by. Continental was ready to go if it started pouring. But there's a lot of people out there saying, thank you, it did not.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still learning these cars.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just a nice sunny day at any racetrack, particularly one as beautiful as this. You just like to see it. Plus, look at that sun glint off of the windscreens. It just adds an element of beauty here.
Well, it's no Willow Springs, but
yeah.
If you've never been to Willow, folks, it's barren. I'm going to go with barren. What do you want to do with that?
I would say that's a pretty apt description. All right, here we go. Safety car's making its way clear of everybody. Brandon Davis will be bringing this field around.
He always gets good starts. I've been watching this kid, and he knows how to get rolling.
All right, we'll have about 16 minutes left in this second
race of the weekend. He slowed up to stack him up, and then he boogied. And
look at Hannah Zeller, timed it to perfection. Got down to the inside of Terry.
Yep.
Now it's a matter, and look at Johan.
And look at Johan coming into this. These front four are going to duke.
Oh, Hannah threw on Paul Terry.
Look at her. She's second, and she's the young gun side. So she's wedged between pro-am guys. Though I don't think that affects Hannah. I think she feels she has every right to be right where,
I think so too.
Right where she is.
All right, so Davis.
Boy, it would have been great if she could have hung on to the draft a little more.
Just a little bit, yeah. And this, I mean, talk about an opportunity. As we said, Brandon, a former GT champion and World Challenge. And for Hannah, if she could stay a little close to him and just watch where he's braking, where he's turning in, it's an opportunity to go to school just a little bit here.
Yep, that will only bolster her confidence.
Sure.
As you can see, Johan is on his way. Sure neat to see those Gulf wire colors. And they match the guardrails here nicely. So it's a really, in terms of photography, a nice setup.
It is.
Such a pretty racetrack.
There's Johan. There is Paul Terry.
Now I'm hearing that car break up a little bit.
Burble. Yeah. A little bit of a burble there, yeah.
And that's when I would long for ignition points and condenser and a cap. Computers are great once they're right.
Well, that's and that's the thing. When the engine management system is really clicking along.
Yep.
There's nothing more efficient and effective than that.
You're right, and ultimately and reliable too.
Yes,
once
but
you get
it's just tuning it then, and that's a big part of the program, obviously. All right, so there's your lead four.
Yeah, you know where I'm not seeing Eric Powell. Is he in fifth? Really?
He's in fifth, but
something's not.
I think he may have got trapped at the start here. Let's see.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
as yesterday's winner, we know he can scoot if everything's okay.
Yeah, I've been watching. I mean, his best lap, though, today has been a 2:04, and he was running 157s, 158s yesterday, so I think he may have a little issue with that car. And they continue to try and solve the issue here for Bryce Miller. As we saw yesterday, I mean, he had fast lap in that race.
He did.
So. And so this is unfortunate. It just can't quite solve whatever problem that is. But up front, you know, these two in particular, and there's Johan. There's Eric.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just off the pace just a little bit. I think he's got maybe a little electronic glitch.
Yep. I don't think he's got all 450 horsepower.
Yeah.
You know, really a tough thing, boy. Decided to do a series in March. Flogged to build race cars, tubs, and suspension pieces, and even overflow cooling tanks, fuel cells, pedals. Oh, so many details that go into these things. Pretty fun to go through the shop, though. My Drivers Talk Radio or Drivers Talk Radio studio is right there in Corona, so I get to sneak over to the race shop. And you and I are used to seeing 1 or 2, maybe 3 race cars being built at a time. You may have seen more than that, but to see, 25 and potentially 30 cars being assembled, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's incredible numbers to be trying to manage here.
Well, you see,
under some pressure as well.
Boy,
that's the other part of it.
Yep. I tell you, SRO has been amazing to work with. I've really grown to love this organization. Grew up an SCCA brat. Did some IMSA stuff as well, but man, they are so race team and driver driven at SRO. Good people.
That's very much, yeah. They understand that the teams in the drive. Ooh, boy, Hannah's working those brakes.
Yeah, but I think I'd take off a little rear bias if Hannah could do that, reach over and just screw it to the front a little more. That's what that's telling me. And guess who I learned that from? He's standing right behind us. Calvin Fish said, "Hey, Rick, we got to pull a little rear out of this." And, so I learned how important that bias is in terms of getting the car at the limit.
It's the one time it's okay to have bias.
Yeah. Yes, exactly right.
Yeah. Tell you, Davis just uncorked another fast lap of the race at a 154.4.
Again.
And of course, with that pit stop, it cooled off the tires. So they've got grip back, and you've burned off a fair amount of fuel, so the car's lighter, it's more responsive, and Davis is one of those guys, he feels that.
Yep.
And knows where he can go. But look at Zeller, sets a personal best, a mid-155. Great lap by Hannah.
That girl, she's determined, man. It's scary to look in her eyes because it's got kind of Rocky written all over it. You know what I mean? Martina, look at, just using her head, learning and learning and learning.
See Johann Schwartz running, his last lap was a 159, so
he's not going to catch.
No, he may have a little issue there as well.
He's not going to. You're not going to close it up with that. Can you tell me why don't the stock cars run the boot? Do you know the NASCAR cars?
Probably it's kind of like Sonoma, where they don't run that carousel and the like. I think it's just because the brakes primarily that you are using pretty hard in the boot, into the laces, into the toe, into the heel. I think that the brakes just don't quite stand up to that. And
because you bring up a good point, they added the carousel back this year at Sonoma for NASCAR, and it improved the quality of the racing. Yeah, so, as road race guys, we'd love to see that included. So I'm wondering if that'll get re-examined now. But you're right. You got to. I mean, those things are 3,400 pounds and very fast.
Yeah, and what do they have? 36 races a year, and 33 of them they don't use the brakes much.
Only to get in the pits.
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
I think that's,
you're right.
Just a little different gambit here.
Yep, only the short track where you see him get glowing red.
Yep. Here's a look at Johan. Had a marvelous weekend so far in the SRO TC America Touring Car class. 2 poles, 2 wins, has really ballooned out his points lead in that category.
Portland went well for him too.
Pretty decent.
He won on both days on that.
And he had, and that was his first run on one of these Saleens too. So it was, and he did well on that. Put on quite a show.
He did. He put on quite a show, but we come to expect that from him.
This is going to be interesting because he and Terry right now are running very similar lap times. You hear that little burble again, I think, from Terry's car, which tells me that there might be a little issue with Johann's car. But
I think you and I both know he's capable of running right on the clock.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that does not sound healthy. And these are turbocharged cars, and they need that throttle body and electronics. Everything needs to talk to everything perfectly, or you got a mess. And gosh, the computer guys have been just busting their fannies on this stuff. But these things will be like rental cars from Hertz when they get them right. They'll just run and run and run.
Yep, absolutely. And keeping an eye on Eric Powell here. Again, he's in his lap times are in the low 2 minutes, which really tells you that there's something not quite right there. But apparently he's chatted with during that stop talk to the people in the pit lane, and it's not something that is an immediate fix, and they clearly don't feel it's something that is going to do damage to the car. And so he's just out there putting in laps and trying to accrue points. The last lap, Johann's lap, dropped into the 2 minutes as well, and Terry now all over the back of him.
Yep. But I think they're going to be pretty equal. You know what? Brandon kind of got robbed yesterday, so it's good to see that he's having a clean run today when his car failed right near the end. The computer checked out.
Yeah.
So be good to see these get together. Car sure looks pretty going around.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
Yep. Again, folks, you can get in this series and get some amazing coaching if you're new to it, and of course get fabulous technical support. And again, the Saleen crew and the R3 group have just done such a great job of keeping these cars functional, even though they're brand new. Yeah, I think they might be.
Yeah.
I think they might be suffering the same ill. Sounds like they're both kind of breaking up.
Yeah, you can hear it, isn't it? It's kind of a match set right now. It's unfortunate, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is, because apparently it really does tug on you inside the car. But look at both these guys are obviously happy with the balance of them. They're driving them almost identical. What do we got? We're just right a little over 6 minutes to go. Of course, Brandon's got his fingers crossed in both driving gloves.
Yeah, exactly. And tell you what, I'm impressed that Hannah is hanging on to him. He's opened up a margin.
Yep.
But she continues to lap within a second of Brandon Davis's time. And again, he's a very, very talented driver with a
she's going to be
pedigree
good.
and some championships.
And she too does driver coaching. So.
Yes.
And who we are missing today is Molly Saleen, who again shows promise as well. But she learned kind of a hard lesson when she spun on Friday, and it hurt her motor to do it.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yep. So she'll, but you can bet she'll be at Road America. Hannah's, that's a pretty car.
It is.
Pretty good. Pretty good. And it's good to see her be this strong. So she'll have, I think the Young Gun title will go to her in about 5 minutes if she can hang in there.
Yeah, I mean, with the way she's running, I don't.
Very clean, though.
Very
You
impressive
notice
what
that?
she's
Yep.
doing, yeah.
She's not putting anything wrong. Though I do think I would pull a little bit more front brake bias on it just to make it a little less darty on her hard braking, which she's obviously not afraid to go do. See, when they're clean, they sound great.
Yes.
These little motors.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
You know, 450 horsepower, 4-cylinder engine. Oh, now hers is starting to break up a little bit there, buddy. Let's hope that does not get worse.
Yeah.
Because she's doing such a nice job.
Well, that might be a matter of, what we've been talking about with the electronics, and even with it being cool today in that stop, we're pushing the limits here in terms of really working these cars through a race, and as they're getting developed and the like, the electronics might just be suffering a little bit from heat. That's something that they need to know, that the builders and engineers need to know, and they can come up with a quick solution for
Well,
it.
to your point, Greg, they did alter some of the cool air ducting. See, she's locking up her left front.
Oh, yeah, big time.
She could be in a little bit of a bind there. That's going into one. The good news is there's a lot of pavement available, which apparently she made use of.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been actually aiming cooling hoses at some of the electronics, so your point's dead valid. You know, the heat is not your friend. Girl.
Wonder if that was a big lockup she had. I wonder if she flat spotted it right to the cords, possibly.
Not your friend to get a big flat spot like that. She's going to feel that in the steering wheel. It appears to be affecting her straight line speed too. Yep, I think Hannah's in trouble, and I don't know that lockup did it, but it didn't help.
No.
Yeah, here they come.
Oh, and Terry's gone through on Shorts as well.
Yep.
And we'd seen Shorts' times dropping significantly, so.
These drivers get out of these cars so optimistic. They want to be in them when they're right, because when they are, they love them.
Yes,
they're just
absolutely.
Oh, these things are so much fun to drive. Again, unfortunately, we did test the safety equipment at one yesterday. Very hard hit. Mark Pombo got into the fence in this very corner that we're in. And very hard hit, and we proved that Mr. Saleen knows how to not only build a good race car, but a very safe race car. Roll cage did not move a bit, and he was, that left front corner took a heck of a shot,
Well, and we talked about that. You know, that's confidence inspiring for drivers who want to come into it, because when you're racing, you know,
right.
you can't guarantee that in racing that you won't be involved in an incident, and to have a car that presents immediately as being a very safe car, should something like that happen, that means a lot to drivers.
Yeah, and I think younger drivers pay a little bit more attention to it, because they know there's a potential for mistake is greater. Brandon Davis isn't going to make a mistake. He's going to drive it damn near perfectly, and it would take some other set of circumstances to put him in trouble. And no less true with Johan and several of the drivers we've got, Powell and Terry. These guys have so much background. They're not mistake inclined. But for the new drivers, the young guns, okay, that was close to Martina there, Brandon.
It was.
But I don't know if he anticipated that closing speed, but had the skills to adjust for it. And I'm glad he's earned the win. Well, unfortunately, Hannah is in, and they are bringing the net down. So her sure win just kind of, I think, went out the window. Yep, she's getting out. I've been around Hannah when she's disappointed. She's doesn't take it well. I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the bearer of that news.
Well, that's that competitive fighting instinct that good drivers have.
She's not interested in second place, let me tell you. See, Davis's car still sounds crisp and on the game, and you can tell by how he's placing it. He has complete confidence, such a clean driver. And these cars are capable of so much. Oh, boy, that sounds good. There it is. There's a checkered flag. So Mr. Davis, as you predicted yesterday, you give this kid the right car and he is going to win. Yeah. And sure enough.
He's got a pretty solid skill set, no question about that.
yeah, you can go with that one.
You know.
You can go with that one.
Another smart drive by Martina.
Yep.
You know, again, this is very much learning days for her. She doesn't have a lot of race experience, so she's working on it here. And with the problem for Hannah Zeller, here is going to be Paul Terry, who will come through and pick up a second place.
Wow.
And nice run for him and Johan Schwartz.
Well, that proves what tenacity gets you, because he never gave up. He just kept pushing. Eric Zeller's Quan. Austin came in 7th overall. That'll put him about 3rd, I think, in Young Guns, 2nd or 3rd. He might be 2nd in Young Guns. So his points lead may still be safe despite Brandon's win here.
Yep, that's entirely possible.
Yep.
Powell, here he comes. And again, he's just been off pace the entire race. Something has not been quite right with that car, but you talk about the perseverance. He understands, get the points. Get the points, because he would love to have the opportunity to be a factory driver in GT4, and so he's going to stay with it here.
He made that clear to me yesterday in Victory Circle, and he was emotional in Victory Circle, by the way. He wanted that win.
Well, he finally had that opportunity, and with a 1st yesterday and a 4th today, he's got pretty good opportunity here for sure. And you know, you think about yesterday's race, Brandon Davis finished well back, but fourth in PA, so they could be virtually tied. How good will that be heading into Road America? So here are the results for the second race in the championship. And again, just a great run. And Hannah Zellers looks like, even with her issue, she will get the Young Guns win here today.
She did. Oh, great.
And super run. She really put a strong one together. So great job for Hannah Zellers as well. But again, Davis, Terry, and Schwartz completing the overall podium. Hannah Zellers winning Young Guns with Riley second and Cameron Lawrence in third. So just a fabulous result again for Davis after the problems that he had yesterday. Well done indeed, and he has made his way down into the Victory Circle staging area in that beautiful number 14 Saleen.
Look at these crews jumping on it right now. We want to know tire temperatures and pressures, and these guys are trying to learn so much from these cars in these runs.
But I'll tell you that the graphics package, those yellow highlights, really point out the aerodynamics, but done in a tasteful way. I mean, the curves on the flow in the car really sharp indeed.
You're dead right. You're dead right.
Here comes Terry into the pits.
Well, I'm going to talk to Steve about having a couple of celebrity cars for you and Calvin. I think you guys need to give this a shot. You know,
I would be honored.
Wouldn't it be fun?
I would be honored to be lapped every 3-4 laps by Calvin.
By Calvin?
That'd be fabulous.
And I think you're wise to brace yourself for that possibility. Calvin Fish, excellent driver, and it was great being teammates with him years ago. Really enjoyed it.
All right. So
well, thank you so much for the privilege of getting to work with you. I hope to do it again at Road America.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Good to meet you. Well, you certainly don't need my help, but it's fun to be.
Yeah, but it's, your insights into this series in particular and these cars is very special indeed. So as Brandon Davis takes the winning car back into the paddock for further evaluation, we bid you farewell from here at Watkins Glen after the second race of a doubleheader weekend for the Saleen Cup. For Rick and for Ryan, I'm Greg Kramer. Thanks so much for joining us.